Ilara had never belonged to the bright world of kings and queens. She had grown up in a quiet village at the edge of Valoria, living behind shadows, behind whispers, behind the mild pity or careless laughter of others. People often said she was the strange-looking girl, the one with faint scars on her face that no healer could explain. She did not argue. She did not raise her voice. She only kept herself small and invisible, because it felt safer that way. But once every 100 years, Valoria changed. A blood-red moon rose in the sky, and the kingdom prepared for the ball of reckoning. A grand night meant to renew an old agreement between humans and the powerful beings who lived beyond the northern veil, the vampires of the night court. Every household had to send a maiden to the ball, even Ilara's. Her stepmother, who always looked at Ilara with a cold kind of tolerance, had no choice but to send her. Ilara did not want to go. She feared crowds, feared attention, feared standing in a place where every beautiful girl would shine like stars while she stood like a shadow. But rules were rules. And so, on the night of the blood moon, she wrapped herself in a dark cloak dusted with ash, hoping it would help her blend in. The palace was golden and bright, filled with music that echoed against marble pillars. Lanterns floated like small suns above the guests. Girls in shimmering gowns spun across the floor, their laughter mixing with the soft hum of enchanted instruments. Ilara stayed near the wall, her hood pulled low. She wished the night would pass quickly, but the night had other plans. As the moon climbed higher, its red glow grew stronger, and the palace suddenly fell silent. Every dancer froze. Every noble turned toward the tall doors as a cold wind swept into the hall. He had arrived. Lord Severin Nocteris, the Alpha King of the Night Court. People said he never bowed to any mortal. They said he never smiled, never feared, never hesitated. He wore dark armor that seemed shaped from shadow itself, and his presence filled the hall with a strange quiet. No guard dared step forward. Even the human king shifted uncomfortably on his throne. Severin's gaze moved slowly across the ballroom. It was not the gaze of someone searching for beauty. It was the gaze of someone searching for something dangerous, something ancient, something lost. Ilara lowered her eyes. She did not want him to see her. She pressed her back to the wall, hoping the shadows would hide her. But when she tried to slip away, her cloak brushed slightly against a decorative vase, making the smallest sound. Severin's head turned sharply, his eyes pale. Silver, unreadable, locked onto her. Ilara froze. Her heart beat painfully against her ribs. She wanted to disappear, but her feet would not move. The ballroom watched in stunned silence as the alpha vampire began walking, slowly, steadily, purposefully, through the crowd. People parted like water around him. Even the king stared in disbelief. Severin stopped in front of Ilara. She kept her head down, face hidden beneath her hood, ashamed. "Look at me," Severin said softly. His voice was calm but carried an old weight like a forgotten storm. Ilara's hands trembled as she lifted her chin. Her scars caught the moonlight. She expected disgust or disappointment or cold curiosity. But Severin did not step back. Instead, his expression changed, subtly but deeply. His eyes widened with something like recognition mixed with a quiet shock. "No," he whispered almost to himself. "It cannot be." Ilara did not know what he meant. She wanted to ask, but her throat closed with fear and confusion. And then something happened that no one in Valoria had ever seen. Severin bent one knee. He bowed. Not to a queen. Not to the king. Not to a noble. He bowed to the girl in ash, the girl the kingdom barely noticed. Gasps filled the ballroom. Some whispered that the vampire king had lost his mind. Others whispered that the girl must be a witch. The human king stood from his throne, stunned. No one understood. No one except Severin, who lifted his gaze to hers with quiet intensity. Ilara felt exposed, confused, and strangely connected to him in a way she did not have words for. It frightened her. Why are you bowing?" she asked in a small voice. Severin rose slowly. "Because the past is not finished," he said. "And you are at its center." Ilara shook her head. "You are mistaken. I'm no one." "You are not no one," Severin replied. "Not to me." His tone was steady, but something trembled beneath it. A hesitation, a fear, or perhaps a longing that he did not want to show. Suddenly, a soft glow brushed across Ilara's skin. She looked down in alarm. Her scars, usually faint and almost invisible, were shining with pale silver light. Shapes formed across her arms, curling like ancient symbols. "What is happening to me?" she whispered, stepping back. The crowd murmured. Many nobles retreated in fear. Severon's expression darkened, but not with anger. He looked almost pained. "The curse has awakened," he said quietly. "You carry the mark of the Night Queen." Elara stared at him. "What queen?" He hesitated. "The one who once ruled my people. The one whose fall broke the world." "I don't understand," Elara said, shaking. "I'm not a queen. I'm not even important." "You are more than you believe," Severon replied. His words should have comforted her, but they only made the air heavier. Elara felt the glowing marks burn cold against her skin. Her head spun. She tried to speak, but her breath caught. Everything around her blurred. "Severon," she whispered weakly. "Something is wrong." Her knees buckled. She collapsed, but Severon caught her quickly, his hands gentle, careful, as if she were something fragile. The entire ballroom watched in stunned silence. "Elara," he said, calling her name as if he had known it for centuries. "Stay awake," but she could not fight the heaviness pulling her down. Her vision dimmed, the world fading to black. She felt weightless, lost, afraid. The human guards, uncertain and alarmed, pointed their weapons toward her. "Step away from the girl," one guard shouted. Severon slowly lifted his head. His expression changed. His calm broke. A quiet fury, sharp and cold, rose behind his eyes, but his voice stayed low and controlled. "If anyone harms her," he said, "the covenant ends tonight." The hall shook with the force of his words. Even without raising his voice, his warning carried a power that made the guards freeze. "Severon," the king began nervously. "Explain yourself," but Severon did not look at him. His attention stayed on Elara, still unconscious in his arms. His jaw tightened, his brows drawn in a mix of worry and something deeper. "She is the key to what was broken," he said softly, almost as if speaking to the wind, "and I will not lose her." Elara stirred faintly, her breath unsteady. The glowing marks on her skin flickered like fading stars. Suddenly, the blood-red moon above the palace flickered too, first dimming, then darkening entirely. A strange silence fell as the sky shifted, as if the world held its breath, and then the moon cracked. A thin black line split across its surface, spreading like a fracture in glass. Light scattered. Shadow spilled from the sky in silent waves. The ballroom grew colder. Lanterns flickered, people screamed softly or covered their mouths in fear. Severon's expression hardened. "The prophecy is unraveling," he whispered. He lifted Elara more tightly in his arms and stepped back from the crowd. The king shouted, "Someone stop him!" But no one dared move. The moon shattered fully into dark fragments that rained across the sky like falling obsidian. A soundless shockwave rolled through the palace, gently stirring everyone's cloaks and hair. Elara's faint voice rose through the darkness, barely audible. "Severon, don't leave me." His breath caught for a brief moment, an emotion too deep for words flickering. Across his face, "I will not," he answered, quietly. He turned toward the palace doors and carried her into the unknown night. End of part 1. The night air outside the palace was cool and silent. Severon carried Elara carefully through the empty courtyard, moving with calm purpose. The shattered moon above cast a soft glow across the stone path, making the world look unreal, dreamlike, touched by old magic. Elara remained unconscious, her head resting gently near his shoulder. The silver marks on her skin pulsed faintly like fragile embers. Severon looked down at her with a strange mix of worry and resolve. He had spent centuries mastering every emotion, locking them away so they would never weaken him. Yet here he was, holding a girl he had known for only moments, feeling something he could not explain. He whispered her name once, hoping she would wake, but she did not stir. The palace guard stayed behind, too frightened by the moon's strange crack and the silent authority in Severon's eyes to follow. He walked toward the grand gates, and they opened on their own as if the night itself bowed before him. Beyond the gates, a dark carriage formed from shadowy mist, his own traveling magic, waited for him. Its doors opened gently, inviting him inside. He placed Elara on the soft seat and sat beside her, keeping one hand near hers, unsure why he could not bring himself to move it away. With a small gesture, the carriage disappeared into the night, gliding faster than any mortal horse could run. The world around them blurred until the palace was only a distant shape behind them. Hours later, Elara woke to the sound of soft wind and the faint shimmer of moon fragments drifting across the sky. She blinked slowly, confused. The carriage's interior was dim and warm. Severin sat across from her, watching her with quiet attention. When she met his eyes, she felt something in her chest tighten. She looked away quickly. "Where am I?" she asked in a hushed voice. "Safe," Severin said gently. "You fainted during the ball. Your curse awakened sooner than expected." Elara pulled her cloak closer, embarrassed that he had seen her collapse. "I'm sorry," she murmured. "You did nothing wrong." His tone was firm but soft, as if he wanted her to believe those words deeply. Elara looked out the window. Darkness stretched endlessly around them. "Are we still in Valoria?" "No," Severin answered. "We are on the path to the Night Court." Elara's hands tightened around the cloak. "Why are you taking me there?" "I don't belong with vampires." "You do not belong with people who fear you," Severin replied simply. Elara frowned. "But I'm a stranger to you. You don't even know me?" Severin's eyes softened in a way that surprised even him. "I know enough." "You bowed to me," Elara said quietly. "Why?" He hesitated. Not because he wanted to lie, but because the truth was heavy, filled with memories, old stories, and futures he could not see clearly. "At first I thought you were a threat," he admitted. "But when I saw you, I realized the past had returned in a different way than I expected." Elara waited, afraid of what he might reveal. "You carry the spirit of the Night Queen," Severin said. "Not her mind or her memories, only her light. A part of her power chose you." "I don't understand," she whispered. "Neither do I," Severin confessed, "but the world felt different the moment I saw you." Elara's heart thumped loudly in the quiet carriage. She had always thought of herself as someone small, someone who blended into the background. Now she was being told she held ancient power. "But I'm not important," she whispered. "I'm just me. And that is enough," Severin replied, his voice deep but gentle. "The light chose you, not the queen. You are not her. You are Elara." Elara looked down at her hands, unsure how to respond. For the first time, someone had spoken her name as if it meant something. The carriage continued across the dark plains until the land slowly changed. Tall silver trees appeared, glowing faintly with moonlight. Streams sparkled like flowing crystal. The sky above was darker than normal night, yet filled with floating lights that moved like soft fireflies. Elara stared in awe. "It's beautiful." "This is the edge of the Night Court," Severin said. "A place shaped by old magic." As they traveled deeper, elegant towers rose in the distance, smooth, silver, and glowing softly. Bridges arched across rivers that looked like liquid starlight. Everything felt quiet, ancient, and full of secrets. Elara felt a strange comfort in the air. It was not frightening. It was peaceful. When the carriage stopped, Severin stepped out and offered his hand to her. She hesitated before taking it. His hand was cool, steady, and strangely calming. With a gentle pull, he helped her down. A group of vampire nobles stood nearby, their eyes filled with curiosity and confusion. Some bowed respectfully to Severin. Others stared at Elara with uncertain expressions. She lowered her gaze, feeling small again. A tall woman with pale blue eyes stepped forward. She wore a long gown shaped from moonlit fabric. "My king," she said, "you return with an unexpected guest." Severin's tone remained calm. "She will stay here under my protection." The nobles exchanged whispers. Some looked displeased, others concerned. Elara stepped slightly behind Severin without realizing it. He noticed but said nothing. He only shifted his stance subtly as though making space for her. The tall woman bowed her head. "As you wish." Severin led Elara across a path lined with glowing trees. The palace of the Night Court stood tall ahead, made of crystal-like stone that reflected starlight in gentle waves. It looked less like a castle and more like a dream carved from moonlight. Inside, the halls were quiet and serene. The walls shimmered faintly as if painted with soft silver. Every corner held gentle beauty, curved windows, floating lights, and patterns that looked like ancient symbols. Elara felt small again, but not in an unpleasant way. It was like standing inside a story she had never known she was a part of. Severin guided her into a room with soft curtains and a bed shaped like a crescent moon. "You may rest here," he said. Elara stepped inside slowly. Everything felt too grand for someone like her. "This room is too beautiful for me," she murmured without thinking. Severin looked at her closely. "You deserve more beauty than this room can offer." Ilara's cheeks warmed. She looked away quickly. He walked toward the door but paused. "Ilara, if you feel afraid or confused, tell me. You do not have to face this alone." She nodded slowly. "Thank you." The door closed softly behind him. Ilara sat on the edge of the bed, touched the glowing symbols on her arms, and tried to understand her new reality. She whispered to herself, "Why me?" But no answer came. Later that night, she walked quietly through the palace garden. Small lights floated above the flowers. The air smelled like cool wind and soft magic. She stopped near a fountain shaped from silver stone. "I do not belong here," she whispered to the quiet garden. "You belong where your heart feels safe." Ilara turned. Severin stood a short distance away, as quiet as the night. She had not heard him approach. "I didn't hear you," she said softly. "You were deep in thought?" Ilara glanced at the glowing trees. "Why are you being kind to me?" "Because kindness is not weakness," Severin said. "And because something inside me refuses to turn away from you." His honesty startled her. She looked at him with searching eyes. "Do you really think I can control this curse?" "I do," he replied. "Because it is not a curse. It is power. And you are stronger than you know." Ilara drew a slow breath. "But what if I fail? What if I cause harm by mistake?" "You will not face anything alone," Severin said. "I will stand with you." Ilara felt warmth slowly spread in her chest. The fear she carried softened, even if just a little. But before she could speak, a soft hum filled the air. The silver marks on her skin glowed brighter, spreading across her arms and neck like gentle light. "Ilara." Severin stepped forward, concerned. She shook her head. "I'm not doing this, it just started." The fountain water rippled, reflecting swirling patterns of light that gathered around her. The air grew soft and warm, like a gentle embrace. "Ilara," Severin said again, his voice calm but worried. "What do you feel?" She lifted her trembling hand. "I feel like someone is calling me." The light on her skin grew brighter, forming a shape behind her, a faint silhouette, soft and glowing, like a distant memory taking form. Severin's eyes narrowed slightly. "The Queen's spirit is stirring." Ilara's breath hitched. "I don't want to become someone else." "You won't," Severin said firmly. "You are still you." But the glow intensified. The garden itself responded, flowers opening, lights gathering, wind rising. Ilara looked up at him, her eyes wide, almost shining themselves. "Severin, I'm scared." Before he could reach her, the light expanded into a soft wave, lifting her slightly off the ground. Her hair drifted around her like dark silk. Her eyes filled with shimmering reflection. The silhouette behind her whispered, soft, gentle, ancient. Severin stepped closer but stopped when the wind thickened around her. "Ilara, listen to my voice," he said. "Stay with me." She lifted her hand toward him as if reaching through water. I don't know if I'm still myself." The light brightened so strongly that the entire garden glowed like a second moon. And then, everything stilled. The light vanished. Ilara fell to her knees gently, breathing hard. The glowing marks faded, leaving her looking pale and shaken. Severin rushed to her and knelt beside her. He gently touched her shoulder. "Ilara, look at me." She lifted her eyes. They shimmered faintly, filled with fear and confusion. "I'm losing control," she whispered. "I don't want this." Severin's face softened with a mix of concern and something deeper. "You are not losing yourself. You are awakening. But you must not face this awakening alone." Ilara blinked, tears forming softly. "Oh."